Hey everyone, this is Ost, and I'm going to be showing a tutorial on how to launch NFT projects with HighForge. So from the main page, just come here and click Start Your Project. And then we're going to ask you, what kind of images do you have? If you have individual traits and you need help combining them into NFTs, we have a generator tool, which is this one. If you already have NFTs and you just need help getting them on-chain, that's this tool. But we're going to start off with the generator tool. The generator tool will also take you all the way to launching on chain, and it's a little more in depth, so we're going to start there. Once you click there, it takes you to this generator page. Now for this demo, I'm going to be creating with you a basic AlgoSkull collection. Just so we're on the same page, let me open up in my file explorer what kind of assets we're working with. So here's my folder that's containing all my assets. You can organize yours differently, but this is just how mine's organized. I have the different categories: brains, hat, ears, glasses, eyes, etching, base, background item, floor, background. Like, these category names are just arbitrary. I invented them. But just to get an idea of how the layout works, like if I go into the background, you can see that I have a blue, green, and red. Okay, let's go into the floor, which shows that we have like a rainbow puddle, a dandelion, and a disco floor. So imagine just like layering each of these categories on top of each other, just one at a time, right? So the next layer is a background item. Let's change the view so we can see them. Just all these layers are adding up, and we'll do one more, the base skull, right? So on it goes, and this is how mine's organized. So your NFT collection is going to be different organization. You're going to have different categories, but you get to name them, and the naming is what shows up like in NFT marketplaces. So you do kind of want to put some thought into it, so when people are seeing which NFTs are rare and whatnot, they have like a better idea of what traits match with categories. Anyway, so this is the collection that I'll be demoing today. So when you're at this page, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add our first category. So we'll click this button, and as we saw, my first category is going to be the background. And how important is this category to the image? So we kind of ask you questions to help you craft rules for your generator. And I'm going to say, I want all my NFTs to have at least one trait from this category. And it doesn't cause any conflicts. This one says, can this category cause conflicts with other categories? No. Okay, so I'm going to come here. It's a drag and drop, or you can click into it. And I've already got it loaded up, so I can just select. I'm going to shift click and select all of them and open it up. So that loads it up into the browser, and you can see those same images show up here. If you click over here, it kind of expands, because sometimes when you're getting down to like the nitpicky details, it's kind of hard to see. So if you just click over here, it kind of blows up the view for you. You can name these traits. And again, I mentioned before, these names do show up in the NFT marketplace. So you want to make sure that if like the artist gives them to you with some sort of like suffix or prefix or something, might have some gibberish here, you might want to come in here and just clean it up a little bit, so when people are actually looking at your finished product, it looks polished. So that's what the names are here. The configuration section here in the table we'll come back to later on in the process. For now, we're just going to skip it, but let's talk about weights. Weights are how often each individual trait gets generated. So when the generator executes and starts actually making your NFTs, what happens is it's going to say, okay, well, we specified we always want a background. So it's going to come in here and say, all right, I need to get either blue, green, or red, because that's all the options we have. But how does it determine which one it gets? Well, that's where the weights come in. So right now they're all set to 10, so they're all equal weight. And you can see there's a little percentage here that shows, oh yeah, they all have a 33% chance of generating. But oftentimes in collections, you want to be able to specify some traits that are rarer than others. The way you'll do that is by adjusting the weights. So if you increase some weight, so let's take this one from 10 to 20. Now it has 50% chance of generating, while green and red have 25% chance. And maybe you want to come and say, let's make red even rarer. So let's take that 10 down to a 5. And you can, as you change these weights, you can see the percentages over here update to say, okay, if you had 100 NFTs, roughly 14 of them are going to have red backgrounds, 29 are going to have green backgrounds, and 57 are going to have blue backgrounds. Just roughly. It's not going to match up exactly because of random probability and whatnot, but that just gives you an idea as you're building out your collection, how to set the weights. After you have added a category, it'll pop up over here on the right. And you can start using this tool here to like click through and make sure everything's looking good. We only have one trait now, so it's fine. One thing I want to point out over here is you have the cog wheel. So you can come at any time, you can come edit the category, which will bring you back to this same view. You can add more images from here. You can also add images from here. When you do it from here, it's a different modal, but it's essentially asking for all the same information. Okay. The one difference there is that you can actually like fine tune. So like if you're further along in your generation process and you see that there's just two traits that will randomly get generated across categories and they just look bad, you can come here and you can say, I want to prevent this trait from showing if certain traits are included. So you can even do that from this view. You can say, oh, the red, for whatever reason, maybe we have the red skull later on. You can come in here, edit this trait, and scroll down and say, prevent it from showing, with another trait. Maybe I'll come back to that in a minute. So let's add another category. So come up here to the plus, and let's see, my next one was called floor. I'm going to say this one is not vital. It adds variety. And again, this is with your collection, you're going to do something different. But for me, I'm going to just arbitrarily say, let the floor, one of the floor traits come in 33% of the time. And it has no conflict. So I'm going to come upload, come back to my collection, come to the floor, shift click and upload all three of them. Now, again, if you want to click, you can get a little better view because it gets a little harder. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to adjust the weights on any of these. Maybe let's do the rainbow. Let's make the rainbow rare. And we'll save that. Okay, so now if we kind of look at the high level view, we can see percentages here, give you a high level view of how often these traits are going to come in. And there's on the category level, there's now 33% chance here, just kind of showing you that the floor doesn't always generate. Background, always generate. But the floor only has a 33% chance. So now if we come over here to this new preview image button, we start clicking it and we start getting random images of all the categories we already have. So I just clicked it and we got a blue disco. Okay, click it again and we get a green disco. Click it again, this time just green because there's only 33% chance of floor generating. So that's kind of how it goes. Over here on the left, it will also, as you kind of click through, it will tell you what traits are highlighted, what the estimated percent chance of getting that is. You notice here on the floor disco it says 15%. That's because 33% of the time you have a 45% chance of generating it. So it's just doing a little bit of math here for you. It'll also tell you over here, your NFTs are going to be 1872 by 1872. So one thing to keep in note as you're uploading these images, you want all these images to be the same dimensions. If they're not, it can cause problems. Our tool will try to resize them for you, but it's better for you to be in charge of your dimensions and you can like resize them how you want them instead of having our algorithm do it. But we're going to continue on. Add another category, background item. This one also adds variety. I'm going to set, let's maybe do this one at 20%. Come back, add these ones in. Okay, looking good to me. I think I'll keep them all even. So now if you start clicking through and I open these up, you can see that as it generated this one with blue and abstract, it put the eyeballs next to them. So there are certain cases where it's like, okay, well, maybe I just want to see how this abstract looks on all the different backgrounds. Easy. You come here, you click the different backgrounds. That way you can, check to make sure your traits are working well with each other. If they're not, maybe this is a good time to say, okay, well, the abstract kind of is blue and we don't really want it on the blue background. So we can come here, edit this trait. We were talking about this earlier. Say prevent it from showing if certain traits are included. I'm going to say add conflicting trait and it'll give you the list of all the ones that are currently defined. So I'm going to come to background blue and select it and save it. Now that we've done that, we see a little eye a slash I show up on both the blue and the abstract that says prevent this trait if background item abstract is present and or background blue is present, vice versa. So now as if we hit new preview image, no matter what, we'll never see abstract get selected with the blue background again. And it's kind of hard sometimes, kind of hard for you to tell, but I'm clicking new preview image more often than it's generating because sometimes it just selects the same background. But so far, so good. Okay. Now there's something interesting. We can continue on going on adding categories one at a time. No problem. And remember, as we add these categories, you notice the background, floor, and background item. This ordering over here on the right is important because that's how the generator layers these images on top. So the blue or the background images fill the whole dimensions. So if we, for example, upload them in a bad order, you can have these movable, these things make it so these categories are movable. Now notice by moving them, we have a dandelion selected, but now it's not showing up. That's because the entire blue background is now on top of the dandelion. So if you want to play around with, as you're building out your collection, sometimes it's not exactly obvious which category goes where. So this system allows you to like very quickly, move categories around. And now we've fixed it back. So now the floor gets generated after the background and just kind of gives you a nice way where you can make sure that your categories are generating in good orders. Okay, so now, yeah, we can continue to add categories one at a time, and some of you might have to do that, but there's actually a shortcut for this. If you have a Photoshop file, I'm going to clear this project. I'm going to come back in. If you have a Photoshop file, you can actually upload that and it will organize it in the same way as a Photoshop file. So let's do that. Upload a Photoshop file. Pop open my algo skulls. Takes a second, but now they all pop in. The one thing about popping them in this way is that everything just kind of defaults to have an equal chance and no rules are added in. So we've kind of saved ourselves the hassle of going through every single category and uploading all the files and kind of the mundaneness of that process. But now we have a new problem. If we come do a new preview image, we do get an NFT, but it looks like trash because we haven't specified any rules yet. It literally, the generator is going to go to each category because they each are at 100%, and it's going to select an item from each. So you can see you got blue, disco, cloud, sapphire, full, matte, full, marble, blah, 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 on and on. Okay. So if you go this route and you're going to immediately start getting results that are going to look bad, that's okay, because now we can just come in and start adjusting the weights. Right. So what do we have on floor? We're going to come edit this one to say it adds variety. We only want it 33% of the time and make rainbow more rare. So put a weight of 2. We'll save that. Now, if we do a new preview image, this time we didn't even get a floor. So it's already starting to clean it up a little bit. So let's go through. I'm going to do that with you just real quick, just to make sure we're doing all right. Background item. Let's come make it add variety. We'll do 33% again, because sure, why not? Maybe let's make the clouds a little bit higher chance of generating and the planets a little less chance. So we'll save that. Now we'll move on to the base. Now this is where we're going to talk about configurations. So let me come through and deselect. What I'm doing is I'm clicking on the eyes over here. So to remove them from the image, just so we have a better, so if I click on this, the dubs here, we see dubs over here, click on it, it goes away, right? Viper. Okay, so I'm just clicked through and got rid of all the stuff that's on the upper layers. And I'm just going to show you how algo skulls are built. So we have 2 types, a bone bowl and a bone full. If we look at the difference between them, one has a cavity in its head and the other one is a fully shaped skull. Okay, so that's kind of what, again, this is just with this collection specifically. Another option that most NFT collections have, which this is similar to, will be like male and female, right? Where you have like certain traits that only work in certain scenarios. That's what we're kind of looking at here now, right? So I have my bone bowl, ruby bowl, sapphire bowl. So you see they all have the same shape, different colors, that's fine. But the main difference is the shapes. So if I come up here, this next layer is etching. So if I click on a bone bowl and I click on astral full, you can see that the etching goes off into space and it looks bad. Okay, so we don't want this to ever pop out of the generator because it just looks like trash. It would, if it was a bone full, it would change the base to the full version. It works great. Okay. Well, now I'm going to go back to the bone bowl because it's more obvious there. If I check, let's just keep checking the etching. Kill count. Well, that one's going to work in either scenario. Okay. The map bowl works on the bowl, and the map full is designed for the full. Okay. So that's kind of the problem we're at here now. There's also, further up, we have a couple more, but also specifically the brains. Like when you have a bowl, the dubs can go in the brain, the fish can go in there. But if you have a full, it doesn't work. Okay, so that's the problem we're trying to solve. And this is how you can solve it. We're going to come back to our base layer and we're going to edit it. And that configuration that we skipped over, this is what this is for. So the configuration basically lets you specify different shapes. So in my case, I'm going to have two configurations, a full and a bowl. In your NFT collection, or a lot of NFT collections, they have male and female. Okay, so let me show you how that works. We're going to come to the drop down and we're going to add a category. And because the category name doesn't really matter, but because this is in, like the first time I'm adding it, it's in this base category, I'm just going to rename it what this is. So I'm going to call it base, and I'm going to add the configuration full. Okay. Now here, this sapphire, instead of it being called sapphire full, I'm just going to call it sapphire and have it belong to the full configuration. Now for this one, I need to come here and add a bowl. Okay. So same thing, I'm going to delete this. So now I have two traits named sapphire, and they're both called, or they're part of different configurations, full and bowl. I'm just going to go through the list. Ruby, same thing. I'm going to add it to the full configuration. And this one, bowl, I'm going to add to the bowl configuration. We have one more pair here, the bone. This is the full version, and this is the bowl version. Okay. So what's going to happen? Let me come back to this view and click through. Now we see it kind of shows up with the configuration next to it. Not much has changed at this point. What will happen when the generator gets to this point? Because we specified, 100% here, the base is always going to get generated, and we have equal weights. The generator is going to come in here and just pick one of these at random. But once it picks one, it now, like let's say it picked this bone full. Now it's locked in to only generating traits from this on that are also part of the full configuration. So let's go to the etching and fix this one up. So the map full, we're going to do the same thing. Just call it map and assign it to the full configuration. The map bowl, assign it to the bowl configuration. Kill count worked in both cases, so we're just going to let it be not assigned to any configuration. That will make it so it's available for all. Then astral full, we're going to assign that to the full. Okay. Also, etching is just kind of a cool thing, so we're going to make it say it's not going to generate all the time, just 33% of the time. So now we can see kind of at a glance say, all right, so if the bone full gets generated, what items from the etching can be generated? Astral full, that one will work. Kill count will work. Map full will work, but map bowl will not work because it's not part of the same configuration. So again, once you have an item that's generated with the configuration, only traits, like traits that are generated further on, can only be added if they have nothing or the same, right? So if we got generated a bowl, what from the etching will be generated? The map bowl or the kill count. So that's kind of how it works there. Now notice, as you start adding configurations, the percent chance of things getting generated starts getting modified, right? So kill count can go in either configuration, so it gets the highest chance. So you might want to say, well, actually, like I still kind of want to keep these all roughly balanced. So you'll come in here and start playing with the weights. So we'll say, well, let's just dump this down by 5 and see. Okay, now they're all much closer. It's not going to be perfect or exact. I mean, you can start fine-tuning these weights to do so, but in my case, that's good enough for me. Okay, so now let's continue on with this. Eyes. Let's start looking through them. Yeah, they look cool. Does my NFT work without them? Yes. So I'm going to come in here, say it adds variety. And let's make the emerald a little more rare. And the marble more common. Okay, we're almost done. Ears. Now we have the same sort of thing going on with the ears, where let me show you this. And I just know this because this is my collection. Again, the whole point of this tool is for you just to try stuff and work it out, right? So I have my bat bull and my bat full. You notice on the full, it kind of follows the shape of the head, doesn't look very good. So that's what we're doing here. So we're going to come in here, say bat full is part of the full configuration, bull, part of the bull configuration. Also ears, add variety. Let's make it so the window, and maybe it's at this point, you can also say, yeah, some traits I don't like. So I'm just going to remove this one. Right. Hat. Now the hats, technically they work on the bull configuration, but they were actually designed for the full configuration. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to assign all of these to the full. Let's make the crown rare. Let's make it really rare. Okay. And the brains, obviously, they only work for the bulls. So we're going to come in and set the bull configuration. I forgot to say these ones add variety. So I'm going to go back and edit the other one as well. Let's make the doves rare. Let's go back to the hat because I missed it. It adds variety 33% of the time. Last layer, here we go. Last category, glasses, adds variety. And let's make the glasses a little more rare. Or there's Vipers ones. Let's get rid of the spectacles. Man, make these ones. Yeah, this seems fine to me. So again, you can just come play with your own. So now that we've gone through, let's start previewing images. I've collapsed all these. You can keep them open, just kind of play with them if you want. And let me I guess I could show you. But now as we start previewing, we can see, hey, these are looking pretty good. Now I do know that there's a collision. Let's see if we can get it randomly. So the cyborg eye, as we're generating through, it kind of looks a little bit busy, right? So it's like, okay, you might want to say, well, maybe that's a trait that we remove. Or you can just say, maybe we make it so on the eye, let's go find eyes. That's the, no, that's not the eye. That's the glasses, sorry. The cyborg glasses. Oh yeah, popping out way too much. So we're gonna come here, edit it. Say, we're gonna change this weight down to 1. Because we had the Viper so low, that fixes that. Okay, now we're gonna generate through, and we're not getting collisions. Things are looking much nicer. Now there actually is a collision, and I was wondering if we'd see it, but I'm just gonna force it. If you have a hat and ears, there's a collision, right? So we can see, and what do I mean by collision? This crown should be on the skull's head, but instead it's kind of overlapping this ear in a bad way, right? So how do we fix that? Well, there's 2 ways we can do it. You might want to be able to just say, well, let's just move the layers around. Well, that didn't work. It fixed it on this side, but on the back side, it didn't fix it, okay? So we could just go through and say, well, maybe, is it a problem with all hats and all ears? Well, let's try the pencil. Pencil might be okay, still not the greatest. Let's go back to bat and garland. Like, again, okay, might work. Sailor hat, definitely not. So we could go through one by one and do the edit trait and, you know, come down here and say prevent it from showing if the bat ear is selected, right? Or you can do that at a category level. So you're going to come to the hat. You're going to go to the category that generates later. So we're going to come to the hat. We're going to edit it. And it says, can this category cause conflicts with other categories? Say prevent it from showing if certain categories are included. And we're going to come say if we have ears. So now if we save it, now we guarantee we get an eyeball letting you know, just like this high level view, what you've set. Now we can guarantee as we're generating through that if we get ears, we will never get hat. And that didn't work either because of It only works in full cases as well. But now we've set a rule so that collision can never happen. So that's kind of how it works. And as you're playing with it, once that kind of idea is just keep clicking this new image, new image, new image. The more you click it, the more like these are images that could come out of the generator. So the more you click it, the more of a concept you have of what you're going to get. But even this is like, once you continue on from this page, you can always come back to this page. So don't feel locked in. Like once you start feeling good about this, okay, I'm feeling good. Let's go to the next step. All right, let's do it. So now we're going to come type in project info. So I'm going to type in algo skulls, the coolest skulls around. Now we get down to the NFT prefix. Now this part confuses people. So let me try to show you what happens. When you have NFT prefix, when we generate and mint these NFTs, they're going to come out as, let me just type in algo skull space number symbol. It's going to show you what it looks like over here. So this prefix gets put at the beginning of the name of each of your NFTs. And then whatever number it is gets added onto the end. So if I want to say algo skull space number sign, okay, cool. Some people don't like having the number sign. Algo skull space number. So you can see over here on the right, it's going to show you this is what an example name would be. Some people don't like having spaces and just like having the number, algo skull number 265. You know, some people like changing, you know, whatever combo you come up with. Personally, I like with the algo skulls, we did algo skull space number. And then it kind of helps give a little more spacing, but it's your collection, you can do whatever you want, but that's how it works. And over here is just showing an example. So when algo skull number 1 gets minted, its name will be algo skull space number sign 1. Then number 2 gets minted, its name will be algo skull space number sign 2. Okay, unit name doesn't really matter, especially now with ARC72, but you can just do all caps, you know, whatever. I would call mine skull. Okay, now we get to the cover image. So when your project is displayed on HighForge, this image you upload here is like the one that people can click on and see. So some people like to put like a collage here of NFTs that might pop out. Some people like to put like one really cool looking NFT from the collection, and some people even like to put like a banner or a custom thing that has like the name of the project and then like some NFTs in the background, or you know, whatever. You can put anything you want here, but just know that this is the images we are going to show when people are exploring projects. So you just come in here and you upload one. Let's go see. I'm going to upload just a random one from here. There you go. And that's the one I'm going to use from a cover image. Okay, so now we're going to come to, you get to specify your launch period. So by default, you need to have a public launch, but you can also have an early access period. This is also what people call the whitelist period. Okay, so I'm going to select that just so I can show you all the options. When you select early access period, the form expands and you get more options. Okay, so early access. So I'm going to say I want my project to start tomorrow at 1:17 p.m. for early access. I'm going to let it run for a week. That way I have 1 week of early access, and then after that, public launch happens and anybody can mint. Okay, and now you can specify how many NFTs you want to mint. I'm going to have this be 100 NFT collection. Now during the early access, you have the opportunity to say, well, I mean, I only want 25 to be able to be minted during early access. So what happens during the early access, this is the way the process works. And let me scroll down. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really need to show you anything. So the way the process works during early access is after you launch your project, you as a project creator will be given, well, you'll have to claim them, but we create standard asset for you. It's a token. We call it the early access token, and it's unique to your project only. You can go and claim those from the project page, and now you can distribute those to anybody you want to. So instead of doing like a whitelist and saying, oh, only these addresses can mint, we've kind of flipped it around to say you have tokens. Now you can give them out to people that you want to be able to mint during whitelist. We give you an extra amount that way, because that way you can distribute them to people. And some people you can still kind of race or whatever, but some people, even if they get a whitelist token, end up not minting. So we didn't want to lock it down. We want to, if that's how you want to do it, that's great. We're just giving you the flexibility. So we give you these whitelist tokens, you distribute them out to people. It's a standard asset, so they have to opt in, and then you send it. Then when the early access period opens, they can only mint if they have that token. So part of the signing transactions is they will send that token back to the smart contract and mint. In addition to having that token, they also have to still pay the mint price. So down here, a little further, we have two options for the mint price. The public mint price, and this is in Voy, and these numbers aren't exactly correct because things are still in flux, but just pretend they are. So let's say we're going to have our mint during the public mint, cost 1,000 Voy, and maybe during early mint, during the early access period, you want to give them a 10% discount. So we're going to say 900. Okay. So that means if someone has your early access token, they can come here, spend the early access token, spend 900 Voy, and mint. Then once you get to public, anybody can mint as long as they pay 1,000. Okay. Now you can also specify an alternative token to pay with. So VIA would be an example. Or if your collection has their own standard asset or own ORC 200, you can come here and type that in and specify the price that you want to, of the price in that token that you want to be. So like if you specify VIA, you might say, well, it costs 2,000 to mint, for example, right? I don't have VIA number off the top of my head, but you come type it in here. Over here at update, just show you VIA, and then you can come in here and type in 2,000 as an idea. Now, something that's neat about HighForge is that we encode royalty information into your NFTs, and some marketplaces support it in the Voy world. So we ask you how much you want on royalties on future sales. A good default value is 5. You can specify whatever you want, but that is a required field. Then the last couple of fields here, creator info, these are links that you can give to your Twitter, your Discord, and if you have a web page, you can give that here. These are all optional, these links. Make sure they're fully formed links, because we will use these links on your project page to help, if someone comes and they're exploring projects and they find your project, help them be able to connect with you is basically what these links do. Okay, so we're going to continue on. Now that we finished that form, and now we get to the review step. So here it says, like, if you're feeling good about what's in your generator, time to generate your full collection. Let's do it. Now, again, this is all being done in your browser. So there's no problem. Some people get to this point and they think they're locked in. You're not locked in. Up here at the top, you can go back to generator. Okay, so that's one really nice thing about this. We want this to kind of be like a circular workflow for you, where you can come and say, all right, I think my generator is looking good. Let's come review. So now you're going to start seeing these in this section. These are actual NFTs that will be part of your collection if you launch from now. So this guy, they will all show up. So you can review at this high level by, basically by reviewing. You just want to make sure there's no collisions, they're looking good. And then you can press this arrow over here to kind of like check those off. They've been reviewed. Okay. Part of this review process too is like, okay, we're looking through, but sometimes the details get real small as far as like collisions. So you can also just click on the NFT. It'll bring up this bigger view where you can review them one at a time. So say, okay, now it's a little bit bigger, so I can just make sure. Also in this view, you can see what traits it's selected. So when you have lots of traits, sometimes you kind of forget what traits are in your own collection. And so you can say, what is that trait? Come in here and it will tell you. Also, it will tell you, now that we've actually generated your collection, we know exactly how many of each trait got generated. And so that's what we're telling you here. This is how rare these things are, okay? So you can click this arrow to review at this high level and go through. You also have these options here, edit these traits and regenerate this image. Let me close this. And when I hover over it, you also have those options. Edit these traits and regenerate this image. So let's say you get to the point where it's like, oh, you know what? This cyborg eye, I just think it looks bad with the blue skull. Okay. You can edit the trait rules. Well, there's two things you can do here, depending on how far along you are in the review process. Let's say you're 99 out of 100 reviewed and you're on the last one or like near the end. And you're like, this is like the only NFT that in my entire collection I don't like. Do I really have to go like restart? No, that's what the regenerate button is. You can just say, well, this is one bad one, click it, and it'll swap it out, regenerate a new one. So that's kind of a nice way to be like, you know, as you get further along and you're deep down the review process, you run into a problem, just be like, well, let's just throw that one away and give me a new one. Or you could hit the edit the trait rules. And when you press this button, it's going to take you back to the generator page. And it will load that NFT up in the view. So this is the one that I clicked the edit button on. So that way you can just in this view, look and say, okay, yeah, I don't like the certain aspect about this one. And you can come in here, make changes. And for the sake of demo, like this one actually looks all right, but I'm going to come in here and just make a change to say, let's just say that we're going to make the hats a little more rare. Now I pretend like I just went and added a rule or config to whatever. Now the reason why I wanted to make that change is because now when you come back to the review collection, you know, if you continue, your project info is all saved. You hit continue again, it's going to bring you here back to your review. Now something that happens is here it's telling you you've made changes to the generator, but this is still your old collection. So if you want to have a new collection with those new rules, you have to regenerate my collection. So you can come and click that right here. Let's see here. So now we're back to 0 out of 100 reviewed. And, you know, I got to start going through the review process again. Now there's a button up here called collection stats. Again, we've already generated the entire collection. So now if you click this, it will just give you a high level overview of how many of each trait is in the collection. So emerald eyes, there's only 2 out of the entire 100 NFTs. Okay. And then we go see sapphire, there's 37. So just kind of give you an idea, if you're trying to fine tune like your rarities and what traits you want to be rare, this is a great way of being able to do it. Just come to the collection stats, look at it and say, you know what, I want this one to be rarer, right? Then you can come back to the generator, change the rules, generate the new collection, and on you go. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to show you while I was on the generator page. I just remembered is this main cog. The main cog has a couple options: manage configurations, which we were kind of doing that from that in low level view, but you can see we have the base category and bowl and full. It tells you how many traits you have in each, but you can also specify the weight. So you kind of have a little more power in this view to say, you know what, like the bowl, we actually want them to be a little bit more rare than the full for whatever reason, right? And you can add more categories, and you can also add more configurations to these and delete them, whatever. The other thing you do is you can clear all traits, which is going to like delete all of these. So it's a kind of a way to like start over this section. Or you can clear the project, which will kick you all the way back out. I'm not going to do either of those because we're pretty far along, but that's how it goes. So again, I made changes to my configuration. So let's regenerate my collection one more time. And now let me show you what's in this cog. In this cog, you have the option to regenerate collection. So let's say for some reason, you're just going through and you're just like, they're all looking fine, but I'm not like jiving with this collection. Let's just try again. So you just regenerates them again, no problem. There's also this button here called skip review. So if you have a super big collection and you don't want to go through one by one, you can skip it. I don't suggest that, because if someone mints and gets a crappy NFT from you, it's going to look poorly on your collection and on you, but that power is available technically. Now, one last thing before we launch this project is unique images. So after you generate like 100, let's say you have like a collab piece with another NFT community, or you have just like a golden version. That's what the unique images are for. So you can come here and you can specify. So I'm going to come show you. Let's just load this one up. No, not this one. I'm going to come here and show you this one. I'm going to actually upload a couple. We'll start with this one. So this is one that we've loaded up, and we want it to be unique. Now, sometimes with uniques and collabs, you want to be able to make sure that you can mint them specifically. So the way that this will work is, as the creator, after the project launches, you can mint as many NFTs from your collection at any time for free. You can, so what that means is you can specify, like, I want to make sure this one pops out in mint number 1. Okay. If you leave this blank, this unique image will just get shuffled into your collection randomly, and then you won't know where it is. I think I mentioned, but just in case I didn't, the other images you have up here, the other NFTs, these will be in your collection, but they're also going to be shuffled and come out. So the order you review them in is not the order that they'll be minted in. Okay, so coming back, we're uploading this image. You might specify you want it in a specific slot. You could do slot number 1, slot number 10. You know, this is 100 minutes, so in slot number 93 if you want, or you can just let it be random, doesn't matter. But you do need to specify what traits this NFT has. So we'll come down here to the add trait. It auto-populates with all the traits you define in the generator. So we're going to say, all right, the background is green, the base is sapphire, and it has a hat of a sailor. There we go. And then if you messed up, you can remove them. You can also add unique traits. So if you had like a special background, for example, instead of, or, you know, background item, instead of adding ones that are already there, you can specify your own. You know, maybe you have a ghost in the background or something. And then that'll show you, it'll pop up in as a one-of-one. We don't have that, but that was just as a demonstration. So you can save that. Now you can start seeing they pop up. You can remove them, clicking there, or opening it back up and deleting it from there. Notice as we did that, the number that we reviewed has to go down, because now there's only 99 to review, because you have 100 NFTs in your collection, but one of them is unique. So let's do that process one more time. I'm going to upload this image. Nice clean skull. We're going to come add. It has a blue background, and it has nothing else except for the bone base. Okay. Notice that it shows you the rarity over here as well. And as we change these, the collection stats will update as well. So just something to keep in mind if you're really honing in on that. So I'm feeling pretty good about our collection. I'm going to just review, all looking good. Almost done. You know, when you're reviewing, you might want to just take a little bit longer to review than I'm doing, but this is a demo project, so it's fine. Now you continue, you get to the final page. This is where you kind of can look over, this is project, description, prefix, all the things. You know, this is a good point to check that you have the right time for your launch dates, because we'll tell you in like more human readable terms. Say early access is going to be in 23 hours and 44 minutes. Public launch is 7 days after that. Okay. On and on. Here's the pricing. And then you hit the launch button. It will pop open. Well, if you're not connected with your wallet, you can connect up here or down here. But then after you're connected, you hit the launch button. It'll pop open. It's a 2-step process. So you'll sign this transaction. You can click right here to see exactly what's going on as part of the transactions. Step 1, you'll sign, and this will actually create the smart contract. Once it's created, then you can set it up, which will actually activate it and set all the details for it. And once that happens, well, let me just do it. Let me pull up my phone. Okay, here we go. Create project. So we see it's highlighted, and we hit the create project. I have DeFi connected, so it just popped up on my phone. I hit confirm. It's waiting. There we go. Now we're on to step 2. So now we can set up the contract with all the correct parameters. Waiting. Then after this, we're going to get to a upload screen where it's going to upload all the assets. Here it is. My collection is pretty small, so it's just going to take a moment. And if you have a lot more traits and your collection is bigger, it can take a lot longer than this. But then once it's done, we have liftoff. So that means your project is ready to rock and roll. Once these times hit, people can start minting. So let's go to the project page. And this is I'm on my local development machine and I've been having issues with my images loading. So I'm going to refresh the page to see if I get the cover image. Oh, there it was. Okay. That won't happen to you because I'm in a dev environment, but this is the page. You'll get a very similar page. Your cover image will be here, and you can see as a creator, you can mint NFTs from your project at any time without paying any costs. There are 25 available during early access, 100 during public access. You have some controls here. You can mint one if you wanted to. You can pause the mint. You can also claim the early access tokens. So notice I can claim 1,000 early access tokens and I have only 100 total. But again, you can distribute them how you like. So this kind of gives you the view, and that's how you launch a project with HighForge through the generator. Now let's go back. And I'll show you the other way to launch a project without the generator. So you already have images fully formed. You click that button there, takes you to a different page where we can just drag and drop, or you can click to initiate the loading page. Let's just load these ones up. Select all the images you wish to upload and they pop in. I have 5. You can kind of just review, make sure everything's working how you expected. I had 5 and I expect 5. Try to make it so your NFTs are the same size, because again, the system still tries to resize them. So if they're not the same size, you can run into problems here. Now notice as soon as we uploaded them, this view is very similar to like the unique images you just saw. One thing that you see is this image is missing traits. So we can click in here and it's very similar. So we can specify if we wanted the mint to come out in a certain order or let it just automatically be random by leaving it blank. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it blank, but you do have to add traits. So I'm going to come add trait. And because this is the first one, I have to kind of add the categories and traits manually. So I'm going to say add the unique category, and we're going to start with background. And we're going to call it blue. And now we're going to come in and add base, Ruby, and ears, back. So that, pretty straightforward. You'll have to specify whatever your system was, but once you save that, it goes away. So I'm just going to come through and go through with all these ones. So add trait for this guy. We need to add red background. And we need to add floor. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to add a new category. Type in floor. I'm hitting enter, by the way, and that just automatically takes you to the next section. So Dan D line. Now I'm going to, I hit save, but then I clicked right back on it to bring it back open and continue. Because I need to add the sapphire base and eyes, which is a new category. We need marble. Okay, and moving on. Background red, we've already got it, so I'll just select it. Now I need to add background accent as a new category. Plants. Now I'll come to the base, sapphire. This list, by the way, is ordered when you first open it up. It's ordered alphabetically. So if you're having a hard time finding them, just look and that clears it up. So background blue, and then we're coming to the base. We haven't added bone yet. So we'll come in and add bone. Okay, one more. Come in. Background is green. The base is sapphire. Then we have hat, a new category. Sailor. Again, you can see how many rarities are the rarities here. So I have 1 out of 3 sapphires. There's also the collection stats. So you can see, because my collection is so small and I had lots of traits, we have lots of ones here. But that's it. So you can just keep adding more and more. The gear here has a couple options. The first one is to force the mint order. So if you upload them in a certain order and you want to make sure that they are minted in this order, You can just come in here after you're all done. You can say force the mint order, and now you see mint is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you've started putting in mints and you decide, hey, I don't want it. You can randomize them all again by hitting the randomize mint order, and that just wipes them all out. There's this option here where you can set the traits from JSON. So if you generate all these NFTs, instead of going through one by one, like let's say you're trying to launch 1,000 NFTs, instead of going through one by one with these traits, you can set the traits from the JSON. The JSON format is an array. Let's see, how can I, yeah, don't worry about this if you're not planning on using this. But I have a example here. I think it's this guy. Okay. This is an example. If you had 3, actually, you know what? Let's just edit this real quick. Now this is going to mess it up a little bit, but just for the sake of demonstration, it's an array with the objects. We have this properties object here to follow like Arc3 standards. This works, but you can also have it just be just the properties. Okay. So yeah, either works. You can even mix and match. So this is what the JSON file looks like. We have 5 entries because we have 5 NFTs. If they don't line up, it won't work. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say set the traits from JSON. Before I do that, let's go back and look at this guy. He's got base ruby, ears bat, background blue. Now we're expecting it with this. We're expecting to only have background pink after this. Okay, obviously that's not true, but just for the sake of demo, we're come in here, load this up. Okay, and it worked. And now if I come in here, background pink. Okay, look at the next one, background blue. Okay, just to remind ourselves, this is what the JSON looked like. Background pink, background blue. So it just takes whatever you have typed in here exactly word for word. So if you wanted to have more types, so let's say we wanted to actually get this one right. We'd have background blue, base, ruby, ears, back. So I just uploaded it again. And now you can see. Just going to show them side by side. Base is ruby, ears is bat, background is blue, and that was specified here. And again, it can be under a properties object. If there's other things, because sometimes you might have it generate and it might actually generate information like looking like this with a bunch of extra stuff. So that will work. We just ignore all that stuff and just look for the properties if it exists. Otherwise, we just use this object if it exists. So that's how you can, if you have that data available to you, you can crank through without going one by one. Then the process from here on is exactly the same as before, where you can come in, set all your project information, and go to the final launch page. And that is how you can launch projects on HighForge. Thank you.